Hi everybody. On this episode, I talk about vitamin A, depression, the internet, and I have part 2 of my conversation with Meghan Cooper. Stick around. Welcome to episode number 2 of YEG MS. I was doing some research today. I've decided to start doing a little bit more research on MS. It was something that I had done a number of years ago and up to about 2 years ago. And I would post some of the results on my blog at ownmultiplesclerosis.com. And not so much for me, I'm not trying to find a cure for myself. It's just since I have the disease, I'm interested to find out more and see where the research is at. So I was snooping around on the internet today, and one of my favorite sites is pubmed.org. That's pubmed.org. And you can find a lot of the current research on there. Some of the papers, aren't available for download freely, but there are almost 700 free studies on there. So I was just snooping through, and one title caught my eye. Impact of vitamin A supplementation on disease progression in patients with multiple sclerosis. And since I'm a big believer in vitamin D, I thought, hey, maybe this is another vitamin I can start taking. And long story short, the summary of the paper basically states that they didn't see any, significant difference between people who were supplementing with vitamin A and people who were not. So I was a little bit of a letdown, but I saw the title. And hopefully on future episodes of this podcast, I'll have better news to report. But I do have some good news. Since I started this podcast just under a month ago, since I posted the pilot episode and then episode number 1, almost 100 people have either listened to it online or downloaded it or listened to it on their iPhone or their Android device. The service that I use to post the media to gives me some pretty interesting stats, and there has been people from South America. There's one listener in London, England. Predominantly the listeners are from Edmonton and the surrounding area. But it's pretty cool to see. It's the power of the internet to see what what you can do by just putting something like this together. Now, granted, 100 people in the grand scheme of the internet is not even, a fraction of a grain of sand on a beach. But the way I look at it is if there was 100 people in my house, like if I, had a party and 100 people showed up, my anxiety would go through the roof. My head would probably fly off my shoulders. So, it's all how you look at it. And for me, the fact that anybody's listened at all, and hopefully, some people that listen have taken some solace in some of the stuff and listening to either myself or more so Meghan in the last episode. I think it's great. So, and myself personally, my symptoms haven't really gotten any worse. I have been experiencing some brain fog this week, and the numbness in my feet is a little bit different than normal. It hasn't gotten worse. It's just changed. But last week I suffered through a bit of I shouldn't say a bit. I suffered through a kind of a nasty case of depression. I'm sure some of you listening to this, some of the other MSers out there can relate. I think it's part of the course of the disease, or maybe it's just part of the course of having a condition like this that doesn't have a cure, and where you're left wondering sort of what the next day is going to bring. Last week is probably the worst it's ever been as far as depression goes. I did manage to go out for a few runs, which is good. Usually those help kick it, but there was literally some days where I just, didn't want to get out of bed, and my motivation level to do anything at all was at an all-time low. I don't know if it's fatigue or what, but for anyone listening out there, I think it's really important to talk to people when you're feeling that way, especially if, family members, whether if you're married or if you have a partner or whatever, what have you, to let them know what's going on with you, because, people can read it all kinds of different ways, and if you don't let them know that, maybe you're struggling or that things aren't going well, they might perceive what's going on in not such a nice way, or they might think it's them or whatever. So one of the things I've committed to my wife and in our household is that when I am either struggling with symptoms or where I'm struggling with depression, or if my anxiety is acting up, or anything like that, I make sure that I let her know what's going on, so at least she's not walking on eggshells thinking it's something that she's doing. And if anyone out there is not listening and they don't have that that kind of support network, drop me an email, Sean at ownmultiplesclerosis.com. Because I think as a community of people all sharing our experience with this disease, that we should try and support one another the best that we can, because it's not fun when it happens, when you have an episode where you're not doing so well with your symptoms, or if you're struggling with depression or whatever. I mean, it's important to talk, and it's important to talk to somebody about what you're going through. No, I didn't mean to sort of open this up on a down note. It's just I think I think sometimes mental health is not talked about enough, and I feel for myself it's important to be open about it and not try and pretend like it doesn't exist. So, anyways, the next part of this is the next segment coming up is this part 2 of my interview with Meghan Cooper. What can I say about Meghan? She's very open about her disease, and she's very energetic, lively person. A lot of energy, a lot of good things to say. In this part of the conversation, we touch on sexual function. We touch on creating, a MS support group. We talk about all kinds of different stuff that I think if you're someone living with the disease, or you're somehow involved with the disease through a family member or a friend, that you'll find interesting. So take a listen, and thanks again, Meghan, for doing this.
I get that, medical advances are happening all the time, every day. I don't want a cure. I don't expect a cure in my lifetime. What I would really like is a predictor. Can you guys form something, do something that will predict
when I'm going to have a bad day?
Or everybody has these little heart monitor watches and the Fitbit and all that good stuff.
Well, I got one of my wrists right now.
Yeah. Can you make it so that it will, sense when I'm going to have a bad day or what's going to happen? Oh yeah, you know what, Meghan, in 5 years, this is kind of going to be the outcome. 10 years, you're going to lose feeling in your legs. In 15 years, eating is going to be a problem, or going to the bathroom is going to be a problem, or you're going to not be able to have sex anymore. Nobody tells you that your sexual function, that slows down when you have MS. I had to learn that. That was unfortunate. I didn't enjoy that.
I think my wife is hoping for the day when mine slows down, because it hasn't yet.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. Mine did.
No, I'm still basically 18.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I feel like I'm like a 75-year-old woman sometimes. My husband's like,
I didn't read that, and I went, oh.
Yeah,
no. And then, so far,
it's all a mess.
Knock on the table, knock on wood. Yeah.
But they don't tell you that could possibly decline. And it's
they didn't tell me. Yeah, you're right. They didn't tell me that.
Are you serious? Oh my God! Now I have that to deal with too. Super. That's just that.
But it's like I was saying before. That was the toughest part for me. Is that all the stuff that could happen.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's no one can tell you if it's going to be or if to predict it.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this question. So you've had it long enough. I mean, you've probably wondered or probably thought about it or probably even read about it. They don't know what caused it, right?
I'm the first person in my family ever.
Oh, wow. Do you have any thoughts on what potentially could cause it?
I know that mine is stress.
So do you now you mentioned you kind of had a hard living lifestyle prior to, and I this is a theory now. And anybody's listening to this, this is just my own personal theory. This is not based on any science fact or
Nope.
don't write this down. But anyway, this is my own personal theory because I had a similar lifestyle. From what you've been saying, I had a similar lifestyle to you prior to. I think it had a big up all night.
Yep.
Lots of partying, lots of smoking, not eating right, and a high stress lifestyle because not only like doing all that stuff, but being a business owner at the time, I'm not now.
No.
But at the time, being a business owner and in a high stress industry, I have no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
If it didn't cause it, it's what flipped the switch.
Yeah.
Right? I might have already been genetically predisposed to developing it, but I have no doubt in my mind that the lifestyle I was like being overweight, high stress, bad diet, not sleeping right, alcohol, blah, 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 all that stuff was a contributing factor to me developing it. Can I prove that? No.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot prove that. So again.
But that's gut instinct.
Yeah, I definitely think because I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but one theme that's come through the talking to people like yourself has been, I'm now 3 for 3. 3 interviews, 3 people mentioned stress.
Yeah. Well, I lived a lifestyle that it was to the point that my adrenaline was tapped out. I was in a fight or flight situation for 5 years. That once I settled down with my husband, I got out of that area of my life and I settled down with my husband and we had a baby. And that labor, the 72-hour labor, that was what tipped the scales.
72 hours?
72 hours, yeah.
Oh.
And it ended up in an emergency C-section. I was so mad. Oh, I was spitting nails. I was like, 3 hours of pushing, and now you figure you got to cut it out. I could have told you that about 24 hours ago. Oh my God. So yeah, I was pretty upset about the whole thing, but at least I got a beautiful baby boy out of it. And but I think that the my neurologist said most definitely is that MS was already residing somewhere in me. And it was already kind of stewing, and that 72 hours tipped it. And that was like, yep, boom, it was done. So
the other thing I find interesting, because again, you're the third person I've talked to, and including myself, cigarettes are prevalent with it. The guy I talked to first, he still smokes. The girl I talked to a couple days ago, she did smoke. I didn't ask her if she was still smoking.
yeah,
You said that you...
I still smoke. I'm not quitting.
I'm not... Fair enough.
I'm just going to put it out there right now.
I did smoke.
Yeah.
And again, I do know my neuro had told me that, one of the things when he agreed to take me on as a patient is I had to basically, declare that I was a non-smoker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And now, again, I don't know. There's
it could be.
There's certain themes that have been running through these interviews that I just go, hey, there's just this common thread. The biggest one has been the stress thing.
Yeah.
The last person I talked to, she had said that managing stress is a big part of her life.
Yeah.
Is making sure that.
I meditate a lot.
Well, she actually changed jobs.
Yep.
To make sure she was in a lower stress.
Low stress. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. If anybody asks what I have changed the most, and it is my stress level, 100%. I don't hang out with people that cause me stress. I don't work in a job that causes me stress. I keep my home life as stress-free as possible. you know.
Well, and you strike me as a I mean, I just met you, but you struck me as a bit of a high energy person.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I know with people that are high energy like that, I mean, some stress can come a lot more naturally.
Yeah, and it does. It follows me around like a freaking plague.
Yeah.
And I have people that are very dramatic, and they're very, you know, things are constantly going wrong or whatever, and I'm like, okay, but you need to take all of that and you go over there for right now, you know, I'm tired today, I can't handle it. And then there are days that I'm like, all right, let's go battle the world together, we can totally do this. So, you know, there are days that I'm good to go, and then there are days that I'm like, nope, I am so not, like today is a bad MS day for me.
And we could have done this. Are you okay to?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
No. But I make sure that I still have enough energy to do things that I enjoy doing. I don't waste them on things that.
So you budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
I live by the spoon theory. So.
What's the spoon theory?
You haven't read the spoon theory?
No.
Oh, it was on Facebook, and this girl that had lupus, I think, or Crohn's, something just as terrible. She said, you know, everybody that has an autoimmune disease has a set amount of spoons that they get every day. So, and you set your spoon limit, like you have 12 spoons. And every activity that you do requires a spoon. Eating, you take out a spoon. Having a shower, take out a spoon. Getting dressed, you take out a spoon. Those spoons run out really fast. So I live by this spoon theory. If I don't save up my spoons, I can't do the things that I want to be able to do. So
it's budgeting your time.
It's budgeting your time, definitely. But we have a jar of spoons at home so that everybody knows. You know, if I'm down to 2 spoons by dinner time, I'm not doing anything else. I want to be able to eat dinner, and I want to be able to read my son a story. So those are my 2 spoons. Yeah. Somebody else gets to be in charge of cooking and cleaning and doing all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna look that up again.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
It's on the internet, and it's quite lovely. So.
Well, I think budgeting. I think for anyone, budgeting your time is a good idea. But I think for MS in particular.
And prioritizing.
Yeah.
Don't let the stupid things get in your way. We get caught up with stupid things all the time.
Well, it's so true. I mean, in my professional life, I run a team of sales guys.
Yeah.
And none of whom have any sort of disorders or diseases or anything. But one of the things that they commonly do is they get fixated on stuff that is completely unimportant and isn't going to drive home, isn't going to get them a sale.
Right.
They're basically just chasing their tail. But I can apply that to personal life too, because a lot of times you get fixated on stuff that really isn't going to move the ball forward for you at all.
Yeah.
It's just going to waste a bunch of your energy and time.
Right.
And if you like we all do, and I think it's different for everyone, but you're right. I think every MSer only has a set number of things. I know, for me, it's not physical, it's mental.
Well, that's just it, even if you're mentally using a spoon.
Yeah, there's some nights where my wife will want to talk about the budget or plan a birthday or something.
And you just can't.
By that time of the day, the last thing I want to do is anything that seems like work.
Yep. My husband understands that any budgeting conversations, because we have to budget. You know, having MS is expensive.
Yeah.
So, but he knows Saturday mornings are when we have to have that talk. Because Friday night, I'm useless. I've worked all week. Don't bother trying to talk to me. And Sunday is the day that I'm getting ready to go back to work. So Saturday morning is when I'm at my prime. You want to have a good, in-depth conversation? Let's do that then,
Yeah, because you're awake,
rested,
you're
yep.
engaged. I just had a question for you, and it just flew. It was in and out.
Oh, boo. Blame the MS.
Yeah, it was there. Oh, brain fog. Do you get that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
It's like baby brain all over again.
And do you ever get that when you know what you want to say, but you just can't? You can't.
Yeah.
And you know the word you want to use, but you can't remember, but you know it. You know the meaning of it. You know the word for it, and you're just in your head, you're cycling around I know it.
Going through the little Rolodex of words in your brain.
And it's just not there. It's just not there for you today. And then I'll be driving home from work and I'm like, oh, there it is.
Yep, that's what it was. Damn it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the time. I think it's very similar. Like a lot of women that are listening will be able to relate if you've had a baby. It is like having baby brain all over again. I have sat and looked at my laptop and been like, why are you not working? Oh, you need to turn it on. Oh, wow. Click the little Meghan icon and then it will go. And I'm like, oh, that's stupid. So it's one of those that you just forget, the basic things. For the first year that I had MS, it was really entertaining because there were sticky notes, yellow sticky notes everywhere. Turn off the tap, check the bottle temperature 3 times on different places of your arm so you don't scald the baby or freeze him to death, Close the fridge, turn off the oven, make sure that Lucas is in his crib and not on the floor. Because I was notorious for that. I would put him down to go and get something, and then it would be like, what was I doing?
And you're like, oh, squirrel. And
yeah. I'm like, oh. But I would never, I was very cognizant about not putting him on the couch so he would roll up. I was always on the floor. But I was like, oh, yeah, you're still there. Oh, whoops. I was like, I'm amazed that he has made it this far. But he's a trooper. Yes,
my kids are tough.
He got pile drived into the bassinet a couple times with there's no depth perception, It's like the Mars landing. It's like, oh, it's a good thing you bounced, Lovely little baby, I'm sorry.
Now, as we kind of bring this talk to a close, one thing I'd like to ask everyone is, what do you want people to know about MS? If you could, sort of stand up on a soapbox and tell the world, like, something about MS, what would that be?
Be gentle about it.
How so? Just elaborate on it.
Be kinder. If you see somebody that looks healthy and that's in a wheelchair or that's in a scooter, don't give them a snotty look. They're not being lazy. You don't know what they're doing. I get dirty looks constantly if I have to use a scooter when I'm grocery shopping. So I've now taken my MS hoodie and I just put it on the back bit. You want to know why I'm in this?
You're
is why.
You're kidding, really? People give you a dirty look?
Oh, I've had people accuse me of just being lazy. I've parked close to a supermarket door. I'm not in a wheelchair parking because I don't need one. I refuse to use a wheelchair parking for myself because I don't need it. There is somebody there that is way worse than me. Mm-hmm. But I will try and park close. And I got accused once by a gentleman that said, I was taking my scooter out of my husband's truck. He was like, you're just using that because you're lazy. I said, really? You want to look at my MRI? It looks like a freaking Christmas tree.
Oh, you got a lot of lesions?
Oh, I have more than 20. And wow. 7 that are active. So be gentle.
Yeah, it's people they're so quick to advance a judgment.
Yeah.
And they just don't know. They don't know you.
No.
They don't know the challenges in your life. They don't know the why, and they don't want to bother to ask. They just want to,
They just want to make their opinion known. And for the MSers that are listening, God, don't take it personally.
Yeah, it's usually more about them than it has anything.
People are going to be ignorant no matter what is going on, and it has nothing to do with you. And that you have it for a reason. And figure it out. It makes it worthwhile. I'm surviving MS for my son. I have a beautiful boy. And if it's not because of kids, what needed to change for you? What was the positive outcome of it?
Yeah, I mean, you want to be there, like I want to be there to, walk my daughter down the aisle.
Yeah.
She's 4, so I'm figuring I've got at least 20 odd years until that'll happen.
Right.
I want to be there for my son's high school graduation, and I'd like to still be active. I mean, I'm one of the very, very fortunate ones that, athletically, I can pretty much do everything I could before, for the most part. I do have some balance issues going downstairs.
Okay, yeah.
But I can still manage. But other than that, I mean, obviously I can still do, I can still do everything I should before, but I want to continue that because I want, as my son, he's going to be 2 next week, I still want to be able to,
play basketball with him?
Yeah, and I don't want to miss out on that stuff. So I know what you mean. Like when you have kids, it's just like they're the reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I it's disappointing when you hear about some jackass in a parking lot decides to take issue with it because why? Why? Like, why did you even take the time of your day to interact with me or even talk to me?
Yeah.
Or how about rather than judging me, ask me like, well, clearly, you might be having some distress. Is there something I can do to help?
Yeah.
Right? But instead you go, you just become sanctimonious about, no, I'm going to be a jackass and I'm going to put that in your face because I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
Well,
and I had to explain to my son, because my son was right there with me, that no, that man was just having a bad day and he decided to take it out on mommy. And Lucas was really upset. Why would somebody accuse you of that? Why would somebody be mean? I said, well, because when people are having a bad day, they tend to take it out on the nearest person. So I got thick skin and I got big shoulders. I can handle it. But somebody that was newly diagnosed, that their life has been flipped upside down, that would destroy them.
Well, it kind of reminds me of about a year, I think it was almost 2 years ago now. The Alberta College of Pharmacists was really close to canceling Air Miles and Safeway.
Oh, I was mad.
And it was mostly because people that are generally well and healthy were complaining that people like you and I were taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And then the businesses, and then on top of that, the businesses that didn't offer Air Miles because Safeway already had they'd already cornered the market on it or whatever, were complaining. Well, that gives them an unfair advantage. And then I always took 2 things away from that. One of the arguments from people that were complaining because they don't get, because I don't know about you, but every time I pick up my meds, it's like 800 Air Miles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so one of the things was they were saying, well, people like you and I will delay picking up our medications to go for the bonus mile days. Like I'm going to stop taking my meds for 4 days because I got to pick it up on this day because I'm going to get like 50 or 100 bonus miles. And I remember reading that and going, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually out of your friggin' mind?
Yeah.
Do you honestly think I would put myself in harm's way for 50 friggin' Air Miles?
Or the ones that were saying that we're doubling up or we're getting all of our prescriptions at the same. Has anybody ever tried to overdose on MS medication? Because if you have, that would really, really suck. Taking 1 shot of Rebif is difficult enough on its own.
You don't get high from it. It's not fun.
You feel like if you hit a vein, you feel like you got hit by a freaking semi-truck. It's not a good time.
People aren't meeting me in the parking lot, hey, can I buy some of your Tecfidera off me? It doesn't happen.
No.
Right?
No.
Because it doesn't do anything. It's actually kind of hard on your stomach.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you gassy.
Yeah, right?
And so what? I'm good. Like that blew me away. And then the other pharmacies are crying foul because they're like, it's not fair. Nothing's stopping you from offering a points program. Nothing.
Right? And I got so mad because I said, Air Miles is the one thing that I can contribute to my family. Is, it helps pay for Christmas presents. We don't take vacation because to try and go outside of Canada with a bunch of needles, have fun with that.
I used to be on Copaxone like you, but now I got switched to Tecfidera.
Yeah.
And now it's pills.
Oh.
It
would be way better.
Yeah.
Because I got pulled out of the line when I was going into the States. Hold on. Body scan, my drugs were all taken out. I was like, please don't take the needles out of the packages. Please, I will give you an old needle so that you can see that it is Copaxone. It is not anything bad. I'm not taking it to sell it because I only brought enough for the time I'm here.
I think mostly what's in those syringes, like the bulk of it's salt water. It's just saline.
Yeah.
Right?
And you have a little itty bitty bit of drug, right? And I'm like, can you not take it out of the package? Okay, you're gonna take it out of the package. That's awesome. Okay, swell, thanks. Because I'm smuggling But it's like, no, I'm not traveling because it's too much of a pain in the ass. No way. I'll use it to go on movies.
Well, I have traveled for work, but I don't the odd time when I have to go to the U.S., I just roll the dice and hope that nothing happens.
Yeah.
And if something did happen, I would literally drag myself to the airport, hop on a plane, get home. Like, I'm not going to pay a $50,000 hospital bill for a one-night stay for them to tell me that you have MS. Well, no
Thanks.
kidding. Yeah.
Got that.
The air miles thing really bothered me because I felt like somebody, and I remember responding to, it was a Edmonton Journal article, and there was comments on the bottom, and one guy went on this little, probably the same guy that approached you in the parking lot, went on this little tirade about it, and my comment to him was, tell you what, I'll trade you my air miles, and you can
have my MS.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
And
I know.
He didn't respond to that. And
No.
It's not surprising, right?
No, because you know what? Nobody wants to have it. You just want to be able to preach your little soapbox, make yourself feel better.
He got a free TV. I didn't. I want my free TV. It's got to be fair for me.
Yeah.
Fine. Get MS.
Yeah. Go ahead. Figure that out.
Yeah. Or get cancer, or get, I don't know.
Yeah.
Get something horrible where you don't know what the next day is going to bring. And then complain to me about the fact that, once every 2 years I accumulate enough air miles to get a free TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Little tip about air miles. Here's another tip for you. I just found out. I was snooping around on the air miles store, and you can get an investment credit at Bank of Montreal for $500 to invest in mutual funds and stuff.
Okay.
For air miles. And you're allowed to do You're allowed to do up to $500 a quarter because they either give it to you at $100 coupons or $500 coupons, and you're allowed to do up to $500 a quarter, so $2,000. But you can get basically $2,000 of free money a year.
Oh wow!
Invested. I just discovered this last week, so there's another tip for you.
Yay!
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look at that now.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I looked at that and I said to my wife, Andrea, what do you think of this? And she's like, well, what's the strings? I said, well, I guess you have to open an investment account, but so what?
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm now going to be able to invest money as a result. So this is going to piss off the people that want to cancel air miles at the Safeway Pharmacy because, I'm going to be able to invest money that they can't. So, but all I got to say to those people is, again, we can trade.
We can trade 100%.
If somehow I can pull the MS out of my body, put it into yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can take all my air miles too.
Well, for sure. I just think it's ludicrous. I'm like, is that the one thing that you have in your life to complain about? Like that's the one thing you got, and that's what you're choosing? You need to get out more. If that's your big issue with society, like first world problems.
No kidding.
Holy,
No
come on
kidding.
now. You try living on food stamps for a while. You try going to, the food bank. Try sleeping on the street for a night.
You know what? Hell, just try living in a country that isn't Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
We would be done if we had to live somewhere else.
In the U.S.?
Yep. Or even if you, because there's a big population I read in India. There's a large population of MS people in India. And I couldn't imagine, because it's not, by any means third world. Their healthcare is just as amazing. But it's a brand new disease there, where it's been here for I don't even know how many decades. I couldn't imagine having to live somewhere that was brand new, that there was, you had to go outside of your home for treatment. You had to go outside of your comfort zone to find out what's happening to you. Right?
And not only that, do they have the infrastructure? Do they have a MS society? Do they have?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'll be honest with you, up until the last year, and it was more the result of doing this run, right?
Yeah.
My contact with the MS Society was limited to the bike tour.
Yeah.
I never.
No.
I just and I honestly, another tip for anybody who's newly diagnosed: don't wait to reach out. I did, and
you have to go through a very scary period of time by yourself.
Yeah, and I found that in the last year, and specifically in the last 4 or 5 months, where I've been really exposed to a lot of other MS or other things that I've been doing. Sharing stories, even a conversation like this, I find it very therapeutic. Because I know the person on the other end of the conversation gets it. Yeah.
You don't have to try and justify it.
Like even when I'm talking to my wife, and I love her dearly, and she tries to understand, but she can't.
No.
I mean, she can as much as someone could who doesn't have it.
Yeah. But there's only so many books that you can read.
Yeah.
And I don't know, YouTube videos that you can watch.
And I don't know if you ever thought of it. I always look at her, and especially when I was training to do this run, like I was running like 90 to 100 kilometers a week, running 5 times a week. I ran 12 hours, and she sometimes I have to guess. She looks at me and goes, that can't be anything wrong with him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, my husband forgets. He's like, oh yeah, you're having a bad day. I'm like, yeah, you don't think? He's like, I still forget. After 10 years of being married and 8 years of you having MS, I still forget.
Because you don't look at me, it's not like I have one eyeball that's hanging out of its socket.
No.
Or,
like even a rash or something that is just like mildly visible for somebody else would kind of maybe be a bit of a help. Be like, yeah, I have MS, see my rash? See this, what is happening here? Then they're like, they can visually see it, but they can't see the internal part of it, right?
Yeah, I know I said a couple of minutes ago that we were going to wrap this up, but I do have one more question to you, and it's one question, that one that I wanted to ask you like 15 minutes ago, it popped back there. I think we kind of danced around it, we kind of touched on it, but I want to ask you specifically, because this relates to what we're talking about our spouses right now. Mental health, how have you been there?
Mental health has always been a struggle. Even before I had MS.
Do you have family history?
Yes.
Yeah, so same here. I do have a family history of it.
I have not only the depression that comes along with having MS, because that's part and parcel when you have MS. I was also diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and panic and anxiety. So it is part of my lifestyle, is taking care of my mental health as well as my MS. So, I mean, my husband, his family they have mental health issues as well. Everybody is very open and honest about it. If there's a time that I feel is an uncontrollably bad day, mental health wise, I am not quiet about it. Everybody will know, because I don't want anything to happen in that sense. I don't want to have it impact my husband, my son, my family. I want everybody to know what's going on. So being loud about it is my way of coping. I don't try and hide it. I don't try and go into a corner or whatever. No. Again, I shout it from the rooftops if it's a bad day. And I know a lot of folks with MS struggle with it. We lost a good friend of mine last year. We lost her to suicide. And it was heart-wrenching.
Well, it's, the reason I asked about the mental health aspect is, even though there seems to be growing awareness about it, I still don't think it's talked about enough.
Not at all.
And I know for myself, I was diagnosed about 2 years after I met my wife. Our daughter was about a year old. I kind of went off the rails a little bit, where my old life was struggling to get back into control. And at that point, I told, we had to figure out what we were going to do. And so I went to see a mental health professional, and I got diagnosed with anxiety disorder, which I think is common to MS, and also bipolar.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did at that time is I committed to my wife that I wasn't going to drink anymore.
Okay.
Not that it was a wild problem or anything,
No.
but because that was such a prevalent feature of my old life, I had to know for myself if I had a problem.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, I'd not a drop.
Oh, good for you.
And once I did a cold turkey, I never had any like cravings. So it was more I needed to know, and I needed to make sure that I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
That it was just the social scene that I was in.
Yeah.
You know, and so there was that. But then when I got diagnosed bipolar and anxiety, my GP at the time said, well, we can I can't remember what the drug was, but it was to combat the bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said to him, you know, don't bother writing the prescription just yet. I need to talk to my wife about this. And we made a decision as a family that I wasn't going to take, because my personal take on it was, I've already got stuff going on with my brain because of the MS.
Yeah.
And when we read about what this drug did, it was
Okay.
pretty powerful stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I went, I don't know that I really want to introduce something else when there's already things going on.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about communication, and you let everyone know.
Oh, yeah.
With bipolar, and again, I think it was Margaret Trudeau had said, I would never want to not be bipolar because the highs are so awesome
Yeah.
that it makes the lows worthwhile.
Yeah.
And there's truth to that.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in an up phase in my bipolar, I'm goofy and joking around a lot, and it's fun. Everything's
Yeah.
fun and funny. But I've now learned that when I'm in that phase, I just say to my wife, I'm on and up,
Yep.
so we know where it's coming
Yeah.
on the other side of it. But I've also learned that as long as I'm running consistently,
Yeah.
the highs aren't that high and the lows aren't that low.
Yeah.
It's when I get out of that routine of
Yeah.
exercise where the highs get really high and the lows get really low.
Okay.
Right? And I think that it's important for people with MS to not be shy to talk about how they're doing mentally.
Yeah.
And
Most definitely, because it comes hand in hand. You need to know that you might have MS, but there's also another part that you're going to be in mourning. You go through a grief stage of the life that you used to live, the life that you used to have. It is no longer going to be that way, and you have to allow yourself the ability to go through those and to have moments of being super sad, but let the people that are around you and love you and care about you, let them know that that's what's going on, is that you're going through some grief about the life that you used to be able to live.
you're almost mourning the loss of yourself.
Yeah,
You know?
because you're no longer that person, and they're not going to understand it until you tell them, right?
And that goes back to my point about if you're a new MS and you're listening to this, don't wait to reach out, because if you do it on your own, or you try and do it on your own, it took me years to figure that
Yeah.
out. I mean, I was already married with one child.
Yeah,
right?
you're beating your head against a wall.
And where if I would have had some sort of support network of people that had gone through a similar experience, I can't say 100% definitively that it would have changed it, but I have a feeling it would have.
Yeah.
I would have been able to tap into somebody else's knowledge base going through it.
Yeah.
And this ties to my next point that I wanted to talk about, because you and I talked about this before I started taping. I mentioned that I have had some interactions with a gentleman named Neil who wants to start a mentorship program, and you immediately,
Oh, I'm on board.
yeah,
Because that was one of the hardest parts, is going through it alone. Not knowing, not having nobody say, it's a survivable disease. Or disability. It's survivable. You're not going to be on your deathbed in a month, for the most intensive purposes. It's going to suck. There are going to be days that you wish to God that you didn't have to get out of bed, but you do. You need to get out of bed. You need to look it in the face, tell it to piss right off, and keep going.
Yeah.
And that's what I wish that we had when we were first diagnosed. Because if somebody had said to me, this won't last, tomorrow will be a better day, or 2 days it'll be a better day or whatever. Better days are coming. Just keep pushing. It would have been a relief.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So, I hope that Neil's successful in his quest to get this thing off the ground. And,
yeah, me too.
And, I'm going to be talking, like I said to you, I'm going to be actually interviewing him like this, hopefully next week. And, I'd like to get a bunch of people behind him and put pressure on the MS Society to move. Sometimes it's tough when you're like, I've had nothing but good positive interaction with the MS Society, but at the same time there are a large organization and there's bureaucracy involved, so they're not going to be the most fleet of foot to get things moving, and sometimes you
have to be pushy.
Yeah, you got to put some grassroots pressure on them.
Yeah.
And, I know that there's going to be members of the MS Society listening to this, so when they do, understand that, and they know how pushy I can be.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, trying to get something like that run together.
Yeah.
At first, I think it took a minute to get them to realize that I was serious.
Yeah.
And then once I was serious, I put some strains on the resources, I think, at points, but it's all just generate awareness, right? So.
Well, and that's the biggest thing. Is, try and get as many people to understand what's going on. I think
for new MSers, that would be just so impactful. Like, if they can speak to someone like yourself, who's been living with it for 8 years, has seen all the things that it can bring.
Yeah, right. And all of the difficulties that nobody tells you about, or that people don't want to talk about. I will talk about them.
Well, there's no point in not being honest.
That's right. Don't sugarcoat.
If you have the disease, you got it. And you don't have a different. If you have relapsing and remitting, you've got the same flavor that you and I have, right? And everyone I've talked to with relapsing and remitting, it's a pretty similar experience. And we can talk about diet. We can talk about the different therapies. We can talk about standing on your head. I don't care what you. At the end of the day, there's no cure.
No.
So.
It's just about your quality of life.
Yeah.
How to keep that as positive as possible and as comfortable as possible. Like for me, changing my diet drastically, like for me cutting out white bread. Because I've been told, cut out white bread and white pasta and blah, blah, blah. Cut that out. No, for me, that diminishes my quality of life. It makes me more uncomfortable. It makes me more agitated that I don't have my comfort food. It's not bad food. It's not, I'm eating a bag of potato chips. But it's my comfort food, and for somebody to take that away from me would diminish my quality of life. And it's about finding the things that you can hang on to that are still part of your life.
They're still yours.
They're still yours, and people aren't going to take those away from you, but how to make them a bit healthier, right? Like don't eat an entire loaf of bread. I could do that in a day.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I could, but I don't anymore because, it's moderation. You have to take it as you would anything else. But if changing something because you have MS is going to diminish your quality of life, don't do it. It's just like anything else. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that this will maybe give some people some hope.
Yeah, I hope that allowing people access to conversations like the one we're having is, because I just remember when I got first diagnosed, to have access to something like that would have been a huge help.
Yeah.
And like I told you before we started recording, this isn't going through my own personal filter. Like, if you don't agree with the way I handle it, that's not the point. The point is trying to get the stories out there.
Yeah.
Because everybody's going to gravitate towards different things that you've said today, and there's going to be certain things that you've said that I can't say.
Yeah.
Right? And that may, spark something in someone.
Yeah.
And the importance for me is just getting it out there. We all have our own way of handling anything, but it's just trying to build that community so that people understand that you're not on an island by yourself.
No.
You're part of a greater community, and there are people out there that are willing to point you in the right directions.
Yeah. And they let you know you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, it might just be like a phone call, you know, once a week or once a month even, just to say, hey, you're not alone.
And some people are really shy, so maybe just being able to download something like this and listen to it and privately listen to it, and it doesn't become, you know, they're not out there.
Yeah, it's not an overwhelming experience.
Yeah, it's a personal thing.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so your Facebook group is called Young Adults with MS in Greater Edmonton?
Yes. That's started by the MS Society, and I'm one of the administrators on it. So
people can look it up, they can join the group?
Yep.
And it's just people posting about...
you know, if they have MS or if they have a family member with MS and they have questions or if they have concerns or that they just need to vent or, you know, be sad, it's acceptable, and you can join, and there's always information. There's a nurse that I believe she either was part of the MS Society or still is, and she'll go on and post different talks that are coming up or research that's happening, different medications that are going to be released, you know, if they've been approved by the FDA or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's nice because it's a bunch of young adults with MS. So
well, I mean, it sounds like maybe a great way for new people to interact with.
Definitely, especially if you don't want to go and be face to face. You don't have to.
Yeah, you can put that thin veil on the internet between you and...
Definitely. Yeah. Social media, you don't have to be face to face with anybody. So.
Now, are you active on any other social media or just the Facebook?
I'm on, for MS, I'm just on Facebook. Okay. But I'm on Twitter and everything.
Yeah, you can give your Twitter handle if you want to, you don't have to.
Oh, I don't even remember what my Twitter handle is. That's how often I use it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I know that the MS Society is on Twitter as well, and there's a lot of good links to different research that's being done.
Yeah, no, they sometimes retweet my stuff. Not often, every now and then. Well, it's mostly around the runtime, right? Because I'm raising money for them, but...
they're going to promote that.
Yeah. No, but it's good. But yeah, thanks again for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You now set the record. This is the longest one.
I knew I could talk a lot.
Yeah, this is the longest one by about almost 40 minutes.
Oh, no.
Look, I mean, it's great.
Okay.
I mean, it's, you know, it's, the interesting thing about doing a podcast is there's no
set time.
There's no limit, right?
That's good.
And, you know, if one episode's an hour and another one's 2 hours, it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
And, no, I just appreciate the fact you're very open and willing to talk, and
I look forward to hearing more about what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, from this us sitting down here, the first one should be out end of this week.
Excellent.
And then I will definitely email you links and
yes,
stuff.
Yes, please do.
And let you know when this is coming out. And you know, again, thanks again.
You're welcome.
All right. So that was part 2 of my conversation with Meghan. I find listening to her story and listening to other MSers talks really helps me. I found that in doing these interviews and talking to people, it's starting to shape how I'm dealing with my own disease. And so I hope it's helping you. And I really appreciate Meghan taking the time to sit down and talk with me, because I just think that she had a lot of great insights and observations. And I mean, I hope to talk to her again and have her on the podcast again. The next episode of YEG MS will be coming up in 2 weeks, every second Thursday. Basically every second Wednesday night. I'm going to post it at midnight, so depending on your point of view, whether that's Wednesday or Thursday, it'll be every 2 weeks. If you want to get a hold of me, you can email me anytime at Sean, SEAN, at ownmultiplesclerosis.com. That's ownmultiplesclerosis.com, OWN. You can also find me on Twitter at ownms.com1. That's at ownms.com1 on Twitter. A couple other mentions that I probably will mention on each episode. I will be doing the really long run for MS again next year, and every year in the foreseeable future that I'm able to. So if you have any interest in potentially volunteering, getting involved, running 5K, 10K, you know, I mean, I'll be running for 12 hours, so however long you want to go, again, get a hold of me. Or you can also go to really long run to endms.ca or ownmultiplesclerosis.com. Either way, you'll see a place to get a hold of me. Also on that note, my MS Bike Tour team, last year we had 18 members. I'd like to get the membership up to 30 for next year. If you've ever thought about doing the MS Bike Tour, or if you have a relative that's thought about doing it and you're not sure about how to get involved, or you want to join a team, and get a hold of me. I have one other MSer on the team. His name is Dave. Dave will be featured in one of the upcoming podcasts. We would like to get 30 people on the team for next year. Our team was in the top 10 fundraisers for this past bike tour, and we'd like to keep that going. You know, maybe one year we can even crack the top 5. So if you're interested in doing the bike tour next year, don't have a team, or you have a small team that you want to fold into a bigger team, the goal right now is 30 members, and we're not going to stop at 30. If more people want to join, the more the merrier. So thanks again for listening, and if you ever want to get a hold of me, please do, and I'll look for you again in 2 weeks' time. Thanks.